Hello, I'm Daphne Goode, and welcome to the program where the water meets this darling little village. We're in Cowichan Bay at Cowichan Bay Seafood, one of the main players in the Spot Prawn Festival, and it will be yummy. Thanks for joining us on Go Island, Cowichan Valley. On today's show, a new face for farming with aquaponics. Chefs are ready to demo some delicious recipes at the Cowichan Bay Spot Prawn Festival. And some great music with the Herbicidal Maniacs. All that and more on Go Island, Cowichan Valley. Born and bred on the BC coast, Greg Best is a familiar face on the docks in Cowichan Bay. He is proud of his achievements. He started school in Crofton, attended university, married and raised 2 kids. He headed to the Queen Charlotte Islands where he fished halibut, spring salmon and Dungeness crab. Looking for better caliber schooling for his children, he and his family headed back to the island, moving from Comox to Souk, and finally Cowichan Bay. Eventually, the kids were off to university, and Greg and his wife Anne are now owners of Cowichan Bay Seafood.
Now, what's very interesting is when I was a kid and when I lived in Crofton, I used to fish shiners down at the dock, a dock much like this, and a little smaller in those days. And we used to go get the mussels off the pilings, and we'd take the little mussel out and we'd put a little hook through it. We used to catch little shiners and all that kind of stuff. And in the traveling back and forth, I met an old fisherman, and he was at the dock. And he said, "Come in and try this." And I didn't really know what he was talking about. And so he gave me this delicious sort of thing of shellfish, and it was sort of like a big shrimp, and I didn't know what it was. And so I went away and went off to university and did all that, which I said earlier. What's interesting is, of course, later I found out when I started fishing that what he had given me was a prawn. Yeah. And it was one of the best things I'd ever had. And one of the old sort of sayings goes is, we live full circle. We usually come back to where we live. And earlier in my life, I thought that would never happen, that I was gone for here and I was gone to better things throughout the world. But lo and behold, where am I? I'm back in the region where I was raised as a kid. And what are we doing? We're fishing prawns.
Well, that's great. Greg is working with local fishermen, and they will be bringing in the freshest prawns for the Cowichan Bay Spot Prawn Festival, May 24th and 25th. Hosted by Cheetah Slow, Nick Versteeg explains the packed weekend events.
Well, it's Cheetah Slow this year who organized the festival. Every year, it's a different organization, and this year it's our turn. So we will have cooking demos. We have the prawn boil. We have a kids area. We have music. We have carving. Herb Price, a native carver. He comes and carves. So we have all kinds of things to do. We have, and that's I think very important for people to know, we have 2 parking areas because parking in Cowichan Bay is always a challenge. So we have a parking at Bench School and at the tennis court, and the shuttles will just keep on going up and down, to bring the people to the Prawn Festival. It starts about 11 o'clock in the morning till about 4 in the afternoon. So the shuttles will keep on going, and we keep it safe. Right.
Excellent. Explain please for those who don't know, Cheetah Slow, the movement.
Cheetah Slow means slow city. And I always explain to people, Cowichan Bay is not really a city, Cowichan Bay is a village, so we call it the slow village. With Cheetah Slow, it's not all about food, about local food and restaurants preparing local dishes. It's also about the quality of life in Cowichan Bay. And that's what we're really working on to improve the Cowichan life, the Cowichan Bay life here. So for example, we have as one goal in 2020, we want to have the bay behind us here clean, so we can have, not only the beautiful spot prawns, but we can have the shellfish again. Oysters, clams, what we had here in abundance, 50, 60 years ago. And so we want to bring that back. It's about the history. So in the summer we do food tours, right? So we visit with groups, we visited all the stores and they can taste little delights and we tell about the food history. And then we have also an historical tour, what is fantastic because you make a whole walk through the village and one of our people tells about the history of the village. So it's more than just food. Most people think it's slow food you know, but it's more than food. It's history, culture, and most of all, quality of life.
Excellent. What about the merchants in the Cowichan Bay area? Do they all get involved? There's obviously a lot of local production here, Hillary's cheese and true grain bread and so on.
Absolutely. You know, True Grain Bread, of course, Bruce Stewart from True Grain Bread, he was the catalyst behind Cheetah Slow. We had a visit from Slow Food. I was involved in that one. Slow Food president, vice president came here. We gave him a tour, and he fell in love with Cowichan Bay. This is about 5 years ago. He said this is a perfect village for a slow, you know, a Cheetah Slow village. So we applied, and we got, after a year of hard work, we got the application in, and you know, we got the designation as first town in North America, and that's great. So we got the designation, and you know, it's still a lot of education to be done, because we like to have every restaurant here having local Cheetah Slow dishes on their menu. Because that's really, you know, that's something that we want to encourage, so that we put our logo as a little snail, and we want to put the snail behind it on the menu, and then you know, have the waitresses and waiters explaining, hey, this is a Cheetah Slow dish. This asparagus, you know, it's asparagus time at this moment, comes from, you know, up the road here. This spot prawn, right, comes right from the bay here. So that's, you know, that's something that we're educating local merchants to be involved with. A couple of years ago, we went on a, you know, on a prawn fishing boat. It was fascinating for me to see, because I did not know anything about the spot prawns. You know, I was new in the area. So we went fishing for the day. You know, the boats leave in the morning, they set their traps, they come back, so, you know, and then, of course, they get sorted. You know, I think females go back. You know, again, Greg knows more about it. The females go back. Of course, size. You know, we show that, like that. There is a certain size that people. And then they come back here at the wharf. And this is really a neat part about Cowichan Bay, because this is a living harbor. So you see every night the boats come in, and you know, the spot prawns being you know, trucked to Vancouver and all kinds of places. So it's really.
More about the Cowichan Bay Spot Prawn Festival to come. But first we'll take a brief break and visit another Cowichan Bay location to learn about the changing face of farming. Greg Best graduated at 24 from UBC, but he was drawn to the sea always. For 40 years, he's been fishing, starting as a deckhand on a small boat in the Queen Charlotte Islands. He's intensely involved in educating people about responsible fishing practices. Here's how he says all of us can help support a sustainable fishery.
By coming to the festival, being educated, asking questions. This fishery is sustainable by measuring spawner indexes, which is the ratio of the females to males. Every fisherman spends about $3,000 to $4,000 a year to be independently monitored by a company essentially that comes on the boats and does those measurements. When those areas get to the point that those indexes get to a certain threshold, then those areas get closed. Our seasons originally were about 8 weeks, they're about 6 weeks now. And so basically it's a fairly sustainable framework that has proved itself. And I guess what's the word sustainable is, of course, the United Nations came up with a definition, but my definition is that we're doing something that we hope to do forever. And what that means is fishing, and why we put this festival on is to celebrate our connection, that we can still catch wild food close to our home, and essentially we can bring it in and share it with our communities, much like fishermen did over 100 years ago.
You're sustaining, I'm sure, a lot of local fishermen. Are you working with all kinds of fishermen?
With a few, I'd like to have more. It's actually fairly complicated questions, because for every species there's a license that goes with it and a huge capital investment. And as the years have grown, quotas and other mechanisms to control catch have sort of impacted the ability for not only the public but for small seafood stores like myself to access the product. Obviously it's 2 eyes and everything else, and when a prawn is healthy he can hold his tail up like this, and when they get dead it goes down like this, right? This guy is healthy, right? If I tail it and we eat it, it is the best. He's like, this is how you tail him. This taste is perfect. And what I tell the chefs is what you do is you take it raw, taste it, and that taste, if you can get that all the way to the plate, then you've done a good job. Don't smother it with a pile of sauces. We have this fishing history. We sort of know the sustainability of the fish themselves. We know essentially how to cook it. We've essentially been eating this, been doing this for our whole life. I bought Cowichan Bay Seafood, which is probably a 20, 30-year-old company here in Cowichan Bay. I bought an existing company. We've run it here for about 4 years, and now we have another store in Victoria. It's interesting that my parent company is a Better Fishing Company, which I started when I started fishing. And my lawyer said to me, he says, "Why did you call yourself Best Fishing?" I says, "I'm not best yet."
Greg will be selling fresh prawns at the Cowichan Bay Spot Prawn Festival, where you can enjoy chef's demos, entertainment, pomegranate ice cream, wine and beer tasting, and lots of kids' activities. The event runs Saturday and Sunday, May 24th and 25th, from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Shuttles will run from Bench School and the Lawn Tennis Club. Be sure to avoid the lineup and pre-order your prawns. All details are at the website, prawnfest.ca. We'll take a brief break right now and be right back with music from the Herbicidal Maniacs. Don't miss the Cowichan Bay Spot Prawn Festival, Saturday and Sunday, May 24th and 25th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. One of the highlights will be the raffle for these two beautiful pieces of art from Cowichan Valley master carver Herb Rice. Shuttles will run from Bench School and the Lawn Tennis Club. You can enjoy chef's demos, entertainment, wine and beer tastings, and lots of kids' activities. Pre-order your fresh prawns and find out details at the website, prawnfest.ca. From beautiful Cowichan Bay, I'm Daphne Goode, and that's our program. Hope to see you next time.
Women's clothing provided by Tulip Noir, casual designer fashions. Men's wardrobe by DG Bremner & Co. Menswear and accessories. Hair services provided by Salon J.